Living and breathing La Vida Boa. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Demora, alongside host Nick Colhay. We're to inspire, to entertain, to laugh, to have conversations, and spend time with family and learn about life, working together in a family, and just having a good time.
What's up, everybody? I'm your co-host, Nick Colhay. Welcome to the Boa Life Podcast. Episode number 29, perhaps the most anticipated episode ever. Cheers.
We've been dying to have you guys on for many reasons. Obviously, your family, your friends, and mainly the reason that we're doing this is to get together and have conversations that are worthwhile, that can help other people, that can help us. And you guys live inspirational lives. And, I think sometimes we take for granted that family life, being a father, friends, brothers, family, working together, all these things are so important, and I don't think we put them in a high enough esteem and give it enough value. But you guys are superstars. I know you all personally. I love all of you. I don't even consider you friends. You're obviously family, and I can't wait to have a conversation and share why I think you guys are living the Boa life, trying to further that. And maybe in talking that we're going to find out some tidbits on how you guys are doing that, where you're falling short and all that stuff. But without further ado, we're going to go right into it. But before I do that, I just want to disclaim that all of us here are Portuguese except the co-host. I kind of feel bad for him because he's kind of like odd man out, but I have a feeling he'll make do.
Yeah, but I mean, like my wife has told me from day one, I'm the white boy. Proud of it. But there's also another non-Portuguese guy in the house, the Jamie to our Joe Rogan. We got the engineer over in the corner, the mastermind behind the scenes, Mr. Dan Olson. He's joining us tonight, just so you know. If you hear some random audio back in the corner, that's who it is. Guest number 2 from episode number 2, Mr. Dan. Okay? But the star of the show's
right here.
Right here. It's about time they came on.
It is. They've been skirting us for a while.
Skirting ain't the word.
I mean, dodging, ducking. Whatever adjective and verb you want to use.
Before we get started, Dan, do you have any words of wisdom for these 3 first-time, shall I say, virgin guests?
Well, that was risque.
Yeah, you got to pretend that the cameras aren't there and the microphones aren't there, and we're sitting around a table after dinner and just shooting the breeze.
Like we've done so many times.
Good advice.
We're just like we were just cards.
So, yeah. Steve, listen. This is your family. You've known them your whole life. Why don't you give them, without further ado, a proper introduction?
Yeah, I mean, I've known them literally my whole life. I mean, I've got my best friend Dan here, his older brother Louie, who I consider a brother myself, and my cousin Joseph. They're inspirational people. They're good men, and I'm happy to have you guys on. I feel sorry for you, Joseph, because you have big shoes to fill. You had a brother-in-law who did a fantastic job. You had a father who's done a fantastic job. I have no doubt you're going to do a fantastic job. And I'm glad you brought your bodyguards with you here to show how important you are.
No doubt they'll protect you.
And let's not forget about the co-host, too. I mean, Nick does a fantastic job on a weekly basis, so we got to give some credit to where credit is due, no?
All right.
Can't forget about Nick over here.
Fair enough.
The white boy. I know he's not Portuguese, but
I'll take it as it comes. I'll take whatever I can get. As you know, the Portuguese women in our life are not easy to. I love you.
Speaking about the ladies in our life, I was thinking that maybe Dan only came out here to join us for a guys' night out, but now I'm starting to get it. He really wanted to help you guys out, make sure you showed your best selves today. So
yeah,
kudos to him for being a great family member, a great team member. Speaking about good team members. What is it like for you gentlemen to be so integrated in each other's lives? I mean, obviously you're family, but a lot of viewers may not know that you also are partners, co-workers, and whatever title you want to give yourselves, but you are interacting on a daily basis outside of your personal lives with the work. I mean, how has that been over the years dealing with that? Because a lot of people, I think, are in family businesses and may struggle or they do well, but they can really relate to working with family members. How have you guys navigated what I can assume would be maybe sometimes a difficult thing to do?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's kind of easy. Going to work every morning with your cousin and your brother. It's I don't see any challenges. We all have the same mindset. We all want the same things in lives, whether it's personally, professionally, and I find it easy going to work in the morning. I don't see any issues. You do hear horror stories of families not getting along and animosity and jealousy. I don't think that's the case at all with us. We get along real well. As you can see here, we love being around each other and spending time, outside of work especially. But when we're, at the office, it's time to grind, time to go to work. So I don't think it's a challenge at all. Personally, I love it. I think it's great.
Is it that? I think that's why it works. Nick and I always have this thing where I'm talking about how can you like running? Well, I like it. It's easy, and I'm like, it's the worst thing in the world. It's funny how some people have this perception of things, and obviously you're successful in what you're doing because it seems to have that positive mindset. I mean, you guys love working together and you make things happen, and then sometimes you're not working and you're still with each other. You guys can't get enough of each other.
That is true.
To add to what Danny said, we've been pretty fortunate, having been given an opportunity by our parents, our family, to, be the second generation and grow and run the company. So when you're doing it with people you like, it's not a job. And we all have, like Danny said, we all have the same vision, the same common goal, and that is whatever we do what's right for the company.
Yep.
And if we do that, then there is no animosity. There's no hard feelings. Do we agree on everything that does everybody agree on certain subjects? No, but we figure out a way to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, we, coming into this business, it's like we've watched how my father and Danny and Louie's father have handled, being partners for as long as they were partners. And, they basically gave us the blueprint of how to be able to coexist with each other and work with each other and, get past differences with each other. And one thing that is like paramount in a family business is respect. And, we've watched them respect each other from day one. I mean, I came into the business after probably 11 years ago after graduating college. And, I was firsthand watching, my father and Al and Danny and Louie and how they all, work together. And by that time, these guys were already in the business for a while. And it comes down to respect and trust, and, it's paramount. And they kind of laid it out for us, and we're just kind of trying to, further that. And, I think that if we just continue with that same mentality of respecting each other and trusting each other, and the sky's the limit. So that's been really the foundation of it all, is watching my father and Al coexist as partners. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, but where one is weak, another one is strong, and fortunately it's all worked out to this point, and I think we're all confident that it will continue to because of the foundation that was built by our parents. So yeah.
Cheers to them.
Yeah.
They started something special.
No question.
I mean, I know your history. Obviously, everyone in this room knows your history, but just for the audience alone, Joseph, we had your dad on. It was an amazing time speaking with him. He gave us a little background to his history and also how company A&J got started. But I'd like to hear Danny and Louie's take, how it was coming up. First of all, your dad started it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
back in what, the 80s?
79.
70s. I wasn't even born yet.
That was a good year. I was born that year.
But to have the wherewithal to come to this country and step outside of his comfort zone and do something and break out on his own, and then Joseph, for your dad to come and do that, how was it? Guys, you probably did this right after high school, right?
Yes.
You were like,
yep.
you see the company there. It's growing probably year after year, and you're just thinking to yourself probably, let's keep rolling with this. Am I correct in saying that?
I think early on when I joined the company, it was more of a job. Like any 19-year-old right out of high school, the goal was go to work, make as much money as you can, to then go out and spend time with your friends.
As any 19-year-old does, right?
Correct. So it didn't really sink in for me, the opportunity, until probably my mid-20s. Mid-20s. Early on, you asked earlier, Nick, about A&J and in the beginnings, and my dad started this in 1979 with a partner at the time. His name was Joe DaCosta, and they started with basically a Chevy, I think it was a Silverado pickup truck.
Hand tools.
Bed full of hand tools, shovels, rakes, and just the two partners. And Joe worked, if I recall, and my memory holds, he was a partner, but worked
at the factory.
In a factory, correct, at the second shift. So he would work with my father during the day up until about 1 or 2 o'clock, and then he would leave. And at times, my dad would be left to finish the job on his own. So he had a couple of guys that he worked with that he would bring in. At the time, there was still a very large population, or immigrant population, coming in from Portugal. So he was able to pick up day laborers, if you will, from friends of his and people that he knew, and he would bring them in as needed to get the work done. So he would go in and prep work for 2 or 3 days, and then go out and find 2 or 3 guys to work with him along with his partner to get those driveways paved. So, very early on, it was very difficult for him. He was the foreman, he was the operator, he was the estimator, he was the accountant, he did it all. So I remember as a young kid, him trying to type out proposals with a typewriter, and searching for the keys and typing and making a mistake, ripping the proposal out, throwing it out, and starting all over again. So the memories are very, for me, are very vivid of where this all started. And I know just probably a week ago, we were all in our office, the three of us, my father and Ray, and we were talking about where A&J came from. And I think we all got a bit teary-eyed, just because you look out now and you see what it is and what they've been able to build. It's
amazing, is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
I got to interject here. I think you guys picked the wrong 3 guys to come tell the story. Who you should have had was my father, Al Augusto, here. You want to talk about the American dream? He lived it.
We'll have him one day. Absolutely.
But, just from where he came from to where he is today, it's inspirational.
Yeah, and you guys are now, a byproduct of that. I have this conversation with my father-in-law sometimes. He has a yard, and he'll see a guy come in with a pickup truck, and he'll load or unload all by hand.
Yep.
Right? And then the next year, that same guy will come in, and now he'll have a little dump body. And then the next year, he'll come in with, a triaxle, and then a couple of years, he's got a bunch of trucks, and he's got a big company. And it just goes to show you that, we live in the greatest country in the world, and the land of opportunity, and I hope it continues to be that for people to pursue their dreams and to work hard. Obviously, your fathers are, go-getters, hard workers, and obviously that's rubbed off on you guys because you guys are where you are. I also admire your dad, both of your fathers, your dads, for the work they do also in the community, specifically, obviously, the Portuguese community, always, out there giving back, even probably when they shouldn't be. But I'm a firm believer that what you throw out there into the universe comes back to you, maybe tenfold. And a former guest that's sitting out there talked about, masterminds, and a lot of the reason that we did this. I mean, this was inspired basically from, I went to support the family. Just, I think all three of you guys were there as well when Nick was out there running for his daughter and raising money, and he inspired me, and it inspired me to reach out to him and say, hey, listen, like, I saw your videos, like, you inspired me. I feel like I have stuff to say that maybe can inspire other people, and now you guys are here sharing your story, maybe inspiring others. At least you're inspiring me, and you're certainly educating me, and I love having these conversations because I think that we need to constantly be reminded, one, what it takes to get where we want to go, and then we also want to keep getting that drive. And when you see people you love and friends achieving and working hard and getting successes, I've always been of the mindset that, like, I've always, like, A&J, I'm Greenway, like, you name it, I'm always, like, pushing that out there because I'm always proud to see my friends and family do well. I feel like one of the bad things about society sometimes is, people get jealous and this and that. I don't see the benefit of that. And I think this venue's so great because it's like real life. You got here, Dan almost, not almost, but shedding a tear because he's so proud of his dad, and you're seeing real life right in front of you, where I think right now in society, sometimes we're seeing a lot of, make-believe stuff, and people really don't have perspective. How do you guys stay grounded? Because by all measures, you guys are successful, and I don't have any doubt that you're going to every year become more and more successful. I mean, obviously that has been your pattern, and you're going to continue to do that. How do you guys stay grounded? And how do you balance not trying to overachieve too much in one aspect of your life versus the other? In other words, getting that balance with family life and work life. I mean, what are you guys doing? Do you guys help each other out? I mean, how are you guys navigating that? Because that's something I'm always trying to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, thinking it all goes back, I think, to our inspirations and to our role models and to the people that we learn the most from. And I can speak, when I was young, watching my mom and my dad, just bust their tails to make a living and to grow their businesses. And as hard as they worked at their businesses and as much time as they spent, they still always tried to make sure that we were good, to make sure that they were getting us to the soccer practices and to the, gymnastics or whatever it was that my sisters were doing. And, they, regardless of what it was that was going on, they were there. And that's a really difficult thing to do. And from our perspective, I think we watched them do that. We watched them go through those times and what it took for them to do it. And for us, we're in a little bit of a different situation than they are now, where we have the ability to be present for our kids and to make the games and to get them, so it's like coming full circle now with watching how they did it and then making sure that we're doing the same thing as hard as we work and the hours that we put in, making sure that we're there for our family and we're there. So it's all just really just watching what they did, and my father, Al, my mother, there's many people in our family that, aunts and uncles that, did everything to just make it here. I mean, they came literally from nothing when they immigrated here, and they all just wanted to make it. And if they could do it in those times and with the struggles that they had, it was a lot harder for them,
No question.
than it is for us now. Not that it's not difficult. It is difficult, but when you put it into perspective and you think about how they came here, as teenagers, immigrated here, most of our family was that's their story. And so it's like, if they could do it and in those times and build a business and work hard and put the hours in and also be there for their kids to raise us, there should be no reason why we can't do it. So that kind of that's always kind of been like a little motivation for me. It's like, look at where they came from and how they progressed. There should be no reason why we cannot do the same, if not better.
Yeah.
So that's, a big thing for me is that motivation of seeing where they came from and what they achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest memories I have growing up as a kid was, my dad working crazy hours, my mom working at Risen in the factory, but every night with like clockwork, we always sat together at a dinner table and had dinner as a family. No matter how crazy the day went, no matter how long the hours were, every night we sat down and had dinner together as a family. And I think that is probably the single most important thing that you can do, is sit down every night and have dinner, with your family. Whether it's a slice of pizza, a gourmet meal, whatever it may be, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, is having that continuity, that that time with your family, talking about your day, the good days. With us, we sit down at our table and we talk about our day. What was your good day? What was your bad day? What was the best thing about your day? What was the worst thing about your day? So, seeing how hard both my parents worked, but still finding the time to put a meal on the table and have a sit down together as a family and eat, and that to me was paramount. That to me was invaluable. I mean, and I think no matter how hard you work, no matter how crazy your day is, you have to have that balance, right? You have to have your work life and you have to have your family life, and if you don't have that, it's going to throw your life all out of whack. So to me, that's one thing I remember vividly as a kid, and I think Louie can attest to it. And that's something that I've instilled in my family, is the fact that no matter how crazy our days have been, we're going to come home, we're going to break bread, and we're going to have dinner together as a family.
Yeah, no doubt. I've seen that firsthand, obviously. I love to eat.
It don't look like it.
But you bring up a good point. It's like, in this day and age, well, back in the day, TV wasn't a thing. Cell phones weren't a thing. A computer weren't a thing. So I don't want to say it was easy for them to do those kinds of things, even though they made it a point to make it, every night, sit down and spend some family time together. Today, I mean, I don't want to say impossible, but it is so hard, especially all of us. We have young kids, and if you're making that effort to do that every night with your family, it will have that effect on your kids, and they will pass it on to the next generation and the next. And if you just keep that in mind, there's no doubt that that's going to happen. They're definitely going to pass it on. But you have to, like you said, you have to have that discipline. You have, after a hard day's work, you got to say, I'm going to come home, I'm going to do that for my family, because that's what's most important.
Yep. Nick, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I can't go without giving some props to my partner, my wife, who, without her, she's my anchor. She's the one dropping the kids off at school, picking them up, making dinner every day. And we're all fortunate, whether Kelly, Sandra, Allie, Kate, we're all very fortunate.
Lori.
I'm not going to leave Lori out. Dan's
Lori all watch out.
So we're all very, very fortunate that they were all instilled with those values that align with ours. And it's not easy. It's easier than what our parents went through, but it's not easy. So it's a constant. It's a struggle. It's a battle. It's trying to find that happy medium. It's a work in progress for sure.
I think we're all living, like all of us here are kind of living proof of that idea that, if you instill in your kids the importance of family and getting together and, going to have family lunches on a Sunday or, I think we're all close because of that, because of the time that we spent as families, getting together for birthdays and getting together for whatever it was. I know I remember being with you guys a lot as kids, and that was because our family, our parents, always got together, and so I think we're living proof of it. I think we're all still close. We're close with our siblings. We're close. because of that, foundation that was built of the importance of family. And I feel so extremely blessed to have been a part of that, because it's something that sticks with me today. I think it sticks with all of us, and I think we're doing the best that we can to try to instill that in our kids and make sure that they understand too that importance. Because like Nick said, if we do that, if we put that work in, it's all about passing that on to the next generation. And I think that has to do with a lot of the friendships and the love and the success that we've had is partly because of all that. So
yeah, it makes life a lot easier when the people you love are your friends, right?
And your cheerleaders, and
that's right.
I mean, look at here today. I mean, there's a prime example. I mean, we have here. I know you guys aren't 100% comfortable doing stuff like this. You're getting outside of your comfort zone.
No, we're talking about.
But you're doing it for Nick and I, and we appreciate that. And and I think I also think it's good for you too. But I agree wholeheartedly with Louie. Yeah, we were lucky to have the kind of friendships and partnerships we have. And I mean, what greater partner than our wives? And we're here when we stumble for each other, and hopefully we're always with each other when we're at our highest too. I was just thinking as you guys were talking, how I was like reminiscing, and I was like really feeling good last weekend. I think all of us were there. We were fortunate enough to maybe get back to normal a little, and we were at an event at the Portuguese
Cowboy.
And we were watching a concert, and our kids were there, and I just thought, like, it just is so important. Even we were fortunate to have each other, obviously, and the one thing about Portuguese, and there's pros and cons, right? Having the big extended family is a great thing. It can also be hard too. Like, you're gonna have a party, you gotta
what are you talking
invite
about?
half the Danbury.
It's easy hanging out with 600 people. What are you talking about?
But I mean, to have that kind of experience and to be able to do that was just like, I'm just thinking, wow. Like, sometimes when you don't have something, you start taking it for granted, and it's nice to be able to sometimes put things in perspective, and that's what things like this do. It allows us to really think about where we've been, why we are the way we are, how can we improve. You guys are everybody I think in this room are high achievers, certainly maybe getting to become high achievers. And I think one of the key things to becoming a successful human being in a lot of different areas is trying to always self-improve. What are you guys doing to get better as husbands, brothers, fathers, whatever? What do you guys, what works for you? What are you doing to try to make sure that you're always evolving and getting better?
This wasn't one of the questions you had.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, bro.
Loaded.
Jeez. Oprah Winfrey over here.
Dan, I'm going to shoot off to Dan because I know what Dan's going to. I think I know what Dan's going to say. I said, what's the most recent book you've been watching? So like,
I just read Life Force by Tony Robbins.
See, I knew it was.
Oh yeah, I just looked that up.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So I know you guys are watching YouTube videos. I know you're reading. I know you guys have the benefit of being intimately involved in your business. Some of you started from the bottom and you went all the way up. So some of it's just self-evolving. But is there anything that you think is that you? Is there anything that you can look back on and say this was really a nice piece that was a recipe for my success?
Well, for me personally, I think coming into the business, out of high school, full of piss and vinegar, thinking that I knew everything, coming into a family business, to me, what helped me the most was my father kind of grounding me, being like, "Hey, all right, my friend, here's a shovel, go to work." And like you were saying, learning from the ground up, that's how it started for me and Louie, both, and Joe, for that matter. Was we came into the family business, nothing was ever promised to us. We had a great opportunity, and and we learned the business from the ground up. And I think the fact that my father didn't give us a lot in the beginning, I think made us hungrier to keep making the next steps to continue to grow and evolve, not only as people but as men. Ultimately, because that's what we became. Coming in as teenagers and evolving into a man. And I think that right there to me, that life lesson was to me was amazing, because he made me understand what it costs to get up in the morning and go to work. You know, putting in the time, putting in the effort. You know, being out there when it's 90 degrees with 100% humidity. You know, sweating, and you know, you're arm in arm, neck and neck with the guy next to you, and you're going at it. To me, that was the single, probably most important thing my dad could have done for me as a young man, was that. Because if he had given me too much earlier, I think that might have ruined me personally. But giving me that, all right, Danny, you want it? Well, here you go. This is where you got to start. And the same with Louie. I mean, Louie had it much harder than I did. You know, Louie came in and he kicked the door down, and you know, I can remember, you know, him and my dad having, you know, blowout fights, and Louie walking off the job, and you know, feeling bad for him. And but you know, looking back at it now, to me, that was the greatest thing he could have ever done for us.
Yeah, there's no doubt that tough love has one of the biggest effects ever. Sounds like your dad took that silver spoon, waved it in front of your face, and tossed it to the side and then buried it in asphalt.
A silver shovel.
Pave over that and never see it again, right?
No question. You know, my dad's a great man, and along with my Uncle Ray, and you know, they till this day, they're two men that I look up to and admire, and would hate to ever let down was those two men.
Well, listen, I mean, there's no doubt. We've heard my father-in-law's story, Joseph's dad's story. It's amazing. We've heard your dad's stories. We personally know it. And just for the record, the guy's a hell of a musician too. I mean, I've never had more fun in a backyard with a band, but not really a band, than when your dad plays the accordion, or how do you say in Portuguese?
Concertina.
All right, the concertina. Right, Dan? The what? Exactly.
I said stick with accordion. I think.
Speaking of concertina, you know, don't let Louie fool you. He's a hell of a concertina player.
Well, yeah, he'll show his colors one day. I'm definitely confident in saying that. But getting back to like what you were saying, there's no doubt that your parents instilled certain values in you. It's definitely impressive to see that you guys rolled with it. I mean, let's be real. There's horror stories out there where people are given everything and they turn into total you know what's. And I'm proud of you guys to see that you've just kept it rolling, and the sky's the limit. You know, as an outsider coming into the family, I'm sure Dan can attest to it too. It's like, it wasn't easy. I mean, I would love to know what you honestly thought of someone like me coming to the family, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. We don't have to let the audience know that. But
well, I loved you right from the beginning, Nick. I think you know that.
You too, Dan.
And you too, Dan. Sorry.
Nothing but love, boys. Nothing but love.
No, it's greatly appreciated, and I definitely can tell from day one that was the case. I mean, it took a little work. I'm not going to lie. Kelly was like, get over there and talk to my cousins and my brother, and I'm like, I'm so good. But no, you guys welcomed me with open arms. It was a family environment that I was never used to. I don't want to say like I'm disappointed in where I came from, because that's not the case at all. But just witnessing that and knowing that there's people out there and there's families out there that operate like you guys so naturally, it was really refreshing. You guys motivate me to keep going every day. Like, you see me out there doing my hard things and you're like, shit, you know, yeah, I swore. I could never do that. But honestly, like, I could put myself in your shoes and say, well, I could never do what you guys do. You know, so it's all perspective. And I think that's important for our audience, especially the ones that enjoy our content, to realize, because when you put stuff into perspective and you make it relative to your own life, then you can apply it to anything. It's like, I'm not going to get out there and act like I know everything about paving, because I literally don't know jack shit. You know, the same way you might think you don't know about what I do in my life. You know, but you guys obviously have excelled at what you do, and it's proven in the business, and it's something that obviously, you know, a ton of people appreciate just by the fact that everyone respects and loves your family.
Yeah.
So Nick, what we do, it comes natural. It's second nature to us. We look at what you do, running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours as something that just,
Mind-numbing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I struggle to walk 4 miles, never mind trying to run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So
I think we could all agree. Yeah, exactly. Perspective, relative. But it's all a mental game, right? It's like, how many times have we been together, all three of you guys, on a Sunday partying, like, oh, night job starting. You know what I mean? To me, I'm like, shh, last thing I want to do is go to work. Like, I want to go to bed right now. So for me, that's hard. The same way you look at stuff that I do may be hard, I'm going to turn that around and put the mirror right in your face and say, you know what? You're doing the same thing. So give yourself a little more credit.
You know, early on, that was one of the most difficult things that I had to do early on in my career, was to leave the family on a Sunday to go to work and to do it under the cover of darkness for, you know, you're doing the same thing. The work doesn't change, whether it's day work or night work. It's just the element of being out there when everybody else is sleeping just plays crazy tricks on you. And, you know, mentally, physically, it takes a toll on you. But, you know, like everything else, you get calloused. You become, now it's second nature, whether it's days, nights, Saturdays, Sundays.
Just lay it down.
I think
There's
that
no difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. No difference.
So you got to make sacrifices, plant seeds for the future. I think that's what I can say I admire the most about you guys, and I can say that for everybody in the room, is, and I think it's a key ingredient for, you know, having a good life, is how you, and obviously we falter and we're not always in balance, but how you guys have like such a, like me, have such a passionate, want to have such a passionate life experience. Like, we're going to work hard, we're going to have fun, you know, maybe sometimes have a little too much fun or maybe too much work, and every once in a while we're out of kilter. But I admire how you guys are really able to balance and try to live so many different experiences and have a real full life. And it's hard to do that. And obviously we don't always do it successfully. We make our mistakes. But we're right there getting back up and trying to do that. And I think it has a lot to do with the mindset of everyone in here, and what I think maybe everyone else that's listening, that's always searching for, is how do you achieve your goals? How do you keep, you know, searching or moving forward to get what you want? And I think it's by, you know, having a vision, having a mindset, like you said before, Joseph, and you guys have said, having that blueprint in front of you, like, you know, hard work, determination, knowing that if, you know, your parents could do it, and your bars, you're starting from a, like, you know, here's the halfway point, and then you almost the responsibility to give your kids just another step, another head start to have a good life for them. What are you guys doing? I know different age groups here, but, you know, what are you guys doing to make sure you're doing what you can to move the values that you learned from your parents that now you have, and to try to instill them in your kids? Is there anything you're trying to do? It's such a hard, I feel like it's a topic that keeps coming up. It's such a hard time to be a parent with technology and all this stuff. It's like, you know, to keep them grounded, and you worry, maybe every generation worries, but is there anything you guys, any tidbits, anything you're doing you think right, wrong, that you could share?
Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, one thing I find myself telling my son all the time is, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's something that, you know, I think we all were taught at a very young age. And, you know, that's not just to your teachers, to your friend, that's everybody. And I think that's part of what, you know, has made us successful, is that we, you know, whether it's a laborer or an operator, no matter what you're doing in our organization, we try to treat everybody like they're important. Like,
that's right.
Like, you know, like we want to be treated.
Like family.
Yeah, right. And so I think that, you know, in life in general, if you just take that for what it is, and that's why I feel like I keep telling my son that, it's so important. I mean, if you take that motto and apply it to all different parts of your life, I mean, it's amazing how you can make people feel and how you make yourself feel when you treat people that way. So, we're not perfect. I'm sure I've said things to people that have upset them and the whole thing. But I think, those experiences where you upset people, maybe you reflect on it afterwards and you learn from it and you say, man, I probably shouldn't have handled that way. But, if we can all, live by that, I think that's a huge thing. And I really think that, for our kids and for anybody in business, never being on that putting yourself on that pedestal and going back to the self-development. Like I was never a big reader. I was never a big, I'm going to go look and read a book to figure out how to do this. I learned from the people around me, and you have to be humble and you have to be able to, take in what people are telling you and get ideas from different people. And when, I was thrown into a crew, I would always ask, how do you guys see this going off? What do you guys think would be the best way to tackle this? To just kind of try to, triangulate and get the best approach for that, and never trying to act like you know everything or like so I think that all kind of is encompassed with that phrase, treat other people the way you want to be treated, and I think that's a big thing that I try to pass down to him and try to live daily to treat people that way.
Yeah,
and one of the in addition to what Joe said, something that I share with my daughters is you not to worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about what you can't control. With so much going on in this world, it's easy to get wrapped up in whether it's the pandemic or now the war or the economy, whatever it may be. But those are things that I don't think anybody in this room can control. So that's something that we talk a lot about at home. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about what you're doing and what you can do to make a difference.
No question. And as a father, the one thing I constantly tell my kids is it's all about consistency, right? Making good choices is what I constantly tell my daughters, right? And my son, he's going to be a year next month. But make good choices, and if I'm disciplining my daughters, and I always tell them, hey, listen, you got two choices, choice A or choice B. What do you want to do? And kind of empower them and give them. Either way, I mean, it's not going to work out well for them, right? But giving them the opportunity to kind of choose where they want to go, I think is powerful, And both my daughters are beautiful girls. God knows I'm in trouble. I know Louie's in trouble. He's got one in high school already and one pretty close. But it's really all about just being consistent. Don't deviate from the game plan, and the single most important thing too that, my wife and I, that we both do is you can't undermine each other, right? Especially in front of your kids. If she says something to my children that I might not agree with, mom's the word. I don't say anything. I may come up to her later. Hey, Sandra. Is
that how you say it?
But usually it's the other way around, right? Usually she's coming up to me and saying, "Oh, really? Do you have to be that hard?" But at the end of the day, it's all about being consistent, right? Consistent and making. And I always tell my girls, make good choices. That's what life's all about.
You guys couldn't have hit on like 3 more special points, if I could put it like that. Like if you wanted to encompass TBL, that's probably 3 things I live by right now. And just to top it off with what you said, Danny, just to recap, like every day, treat people how you want to be treated. And God knows, I try to practice that, but I really try to remind myself and practice that thoroughly, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
And you can't change the past, or you can't worry about what other people are doing. You can't affect anything and anyone other than yourself and what you're doing. And then consistency, I mean, shit, I put it on a t-shirt just because I wear it with pride. And from day one, that's what Steve and I have been preaching. So it's scary that you all 3 just said that right now. I'm not gonna lie. Very scary.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like,
Could it be it's that the amount of time we all spend together?
You guys have
we think similarly. Well, it's like a good meal. Like the recipe is good and it makes a good meal. it's like these gentlemen are good people. They have a recipe that made them good, and now, they're bringing
Well,
it
you
down
also
to
have,
that
you have to
center.
have a good cook too.
Yeah, stir the
Exactly.
soup up.
Well, you guys had good cooks, and it was a good recipe. Turned you guys turned out into being pretty good meals. And I have I have a high probability, and I have faith that you guys are going to cook and use the recipes to make your children be good people as well. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt.
Yeah.
It's nice to have these conversations with, obviously we're all of like mind, or we have obviously different dreams, different things we love. We have a lot of similarities, but I think there's a big void out there, and hearing from guys that are going through what we're going through, because I mean, typically, we get together and we talk about all things life, right? Our kids, work, fun, silly stuff that we won't talk about here. But well, maybe
It's the Boa life, man. Come on,
Who's the best at setback?
But
I mean,
but
we
I
all
think
know who
it's
the best
so
at setback
important.
is.
Well, I mean,
I don't think he's here.
Yeah, well, who has better time playing cards than we do? But I think it's important to have these conversations because, like I said, there's so many things that we can learn from each other, and again, the redundancy, the consistency. Like if you're on the right track, keep doing it, and then what we can do together. I mean, you can accomplish so many things together that you can't do by yourself. I think that's the one thing I love about our family is. And it goes back to like my grandfather. I love him. He wasn't perfect. He had his flaws, but he was all about helping the family and making sure every Sunday we're going to get together, keep the family tight. Like we're stronger together than we are apart. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're going to have stupid arguments about dumb things when you reflect back on them. But at the end of the day. Other than what you guys are saying, because it's the same thing. I think it's my deepest fear is that one day my kids aren't going to get along or be together. I mean, you guys are blessed that cousins, brothers, like staying together through thick and thin. Like that's my dream. One of my biggest dreams for my kids is one day making sure, like no matter what, you have your ups and downs. Maybe you don't like a wife, or maybe you don't like your brother-in-laws or whatever, But
Why are you pointing at us over here?
It's a slight dig. They love you. I'm just kidding.
So, Steve, quick story about your grandfather.
Yeah.
Your grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, he had a bar in downtown Danbury. I don't know if it was called Belvedere,
The Belvedere, yeah.
or Substancia.
And maybe it was something else, but it was definitely the Belvedere.
So my dad had just came over from Portugal, and he was working in a factory. And he was introduced to your family at, when he immigrated. And I believe when he first immigrated from Portugal to the United States, he was working at a factory. So your grandfather called him in on a Sunday to the bar and told him, Al, what you're doing isn't for you. I got a job for you. And my dad says, all right. He says, you're going to go work. You're going to be at such and such place tomorrow morning, and you're going to work construction. Now, coming from Portugal, my dad had no idea what he was in for. So Jack Boa was good friends with Gene Austin, who at the time, Austin Paving was the largest paving contractor in the Danbury area.
Absolutely.
So my dad shows up at the yard Monday morning, dressed at the time, bell bottoms and platform shoes were the style. So he showed up to work to go paving.
Like he's ready to go out.
Like he's ready to rip it up. With a pair of bell-bottom pants, polyester bell-bottom pants, platform shoes, the big John Travolta big collar shirt, and a leather jacket. And the guys saw him walking up, a bunch of Portuguese guys, and they knew who my dad was. And they started looking at each other and saying, hey, Gene, did you hire a new estimator? Or is this our entertainment? They handed him a shovel, and they said, pretend you're playing the guitar. So they started calling him Elvis. So I remember when I came into the business.
That is so funny.
When I came into the business, back in the mid
92, 93.
Mid to late 90s, I was out in the field, and there was guys, drivers, and other guys that knew my father
As Elvis.
They didn't know him as Al. They knew him as Elvis. So funny story. In addition to to Jack, and I know Jack Boa, God rest his soul. You know, he got many people in the
He's the
community.
pioneer of the family.
He was.
Yeah, he got
He was
many
a
people
trailblazer.
going in
That's crazy.
None of
in
us
the
may
right
be
direction.
here if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, especially with the Boa family. So, you know, a little tidbit on the Boa life and you know what Jack Boa did. You know, we may have been selling.
I want to share of
Something.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. That's
We
crazy.
may have never have ended up in the paving.
It might be farmers, working
Jack
off the
Boa.
land and in Portugal, living the good life, living the Boa life
That
in
is
Portugal.
unbelievable. I don't know. I might have heard. I don't know if I remember hearing that story, but
Yeah.
that even with Ost, that's funny. That I mean, he's since gone.
Yeah.
God rest
God
his
rest his
soul.
soul.
Yep.
Sycamore and Bethel. He was
Yep.
good friends with my father-in-law, and now I know why my father-in-law. I didn't know why he would call him Elvis. Sometimes he's like,
My father?
Yeah, he would.
Oh.
He's like good-looking guy, Elvis, and I never knew what that came from. I didn't know if he was saying it because of the way. But
got
now the
sideburns.
story makes complete sense. That is crazy.
First day on the job, and he's ready, he's gonna go out and go bar hopping. Yeah.
It's
Wait, so just to clarify, he was confused. He thought he,
He
was.
didn't know what he was. He said he
Yeah.
had a job. He didn't know what he was.
Oh, okay. He
Construction.
didn't tell
Jack
what
Boa,
kind.
Steve's grandfather, said you're going to do construction tomorrow. Be at Austin.
He didn't know what
Paving's
to
yard at
expect.
Gotcha.
7 a.m. So he showed up. He didn't know. He went to go work. He put on a pair of shoes and
that
he
is.
went to work.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable.
And I'm pretty sure I have the story. If it's not that
Yeah,
accurate,
that's the
it's
story I've heard for
pretty
sure.
pretty close. I don't think I'm too far off.
We always talk about how these series of events sometimes, and it's like can change the course of everything. And here we are now. That's unbelievable.
Well, you always hear a new story too.
Yeah, I mean when
There's so many of them.
Joseph's father was here. It was a story about my grandfather, and ironically the Boa life, and it's the American dream is the good life, like working hard and no understanding of how far we can go. I'm still like, that's an amazing story to me. To think that my grandfather all that time ago, like, set your dad on a path. I mean, he went on his own path, but set him on a path to where you guys are now. One of the largest businesses in our area that I know of. I mean, you guys are a huge outfit. I mean, in this area, in the greater Danbury area. I mean, to think from the humble beginnings to where you guys are. I mean, could you even, when you were first working on a job site, did you ever think one day you'd be you'd basically be running a huge company like you are now today?
I'd be lying if I didn't say that I always had aspirations to grow. I'm not going to say to where we are today, but the goal, the vision was always to grow. And like Danny said, I was the first one of the three of us to get involved in the business. And my dad didn't want me involved. He wanted me to go to school. I opted not to. When I graduated in '93, I had the plan was to go to Central and get a construction management degree. And I had worked with my father every summer leading up, through high school and through graduation. But it was always, he would throw me a couple shekels just to, it was never a, high paying job. Once I graduated and that first summer, the plan was to go to school, so I figured I'd work. He was paying me decent money for a 19-year-old. And once I started making that kind of money, I said, I'm just going to finish out the year, and then I'll start second semester in January sometime, and I'll go to school with a pocket full of money. January came. Instead of going to school, I spent my winter skiing, and
That pocket kept growing.
the pocket kept growing, and the rest is history. So, I didn't go to school. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. No regrets. If there is a regret, it would be the experience, the college experience, that I think I missed out on. But as far as that, what I learned early on in my career, when it was just a job, has set me up to where I am today, and it's allowed me, with these two guys at my side to manage and run the day-to-day operations of the company that we have built.
Steve, that question probably would be better posed to my father, because it's amazing watching or seeing his reaction at times when we're all sitting at the conference table and having a meeting and discussing the future of A&J, Greenway, and A&B, and just seeing my father's reaction. And honestly, when my father first started A&J, I don't think he thought he would ever get A&J to where it is today. And he says it now. He says, and he gets teary-eyed and he gets emotional when he talks about it. Humble beginnings, hand tools, a truck, dug everything by hand, paved everything by hand. Now to having, state-of-the-art paving equipment, the best technology available, having the best estimators and project managers and operators and laborers at your disposal, and having them pull into the shop and look around and see what it's become. It's, for him,
It must be mind-boggling. It is. I think back to what Louie said. It's like when he first started, he's doing handwritten proposals. The poor guy probably can't figure out the software and how to do a proposal now. Imagine how sophisticated it's gotten.
It's come a long way.
What's interesting too is that we were talking about this the other day. Is none of us were forced into this business. None of us were. My dad didn't say, "Hey Joe, you're going to come work for A&J when you graduate college." It was the opposite. I was going to go and work at another construction company. I knew eventually I wanted to come into the business, but it was never like, you're gonna start right after college. And that's what ended up happening, and it was the best thing I could have done because, like these guys, I was put into a situation where I was on a crew. I was just a regular guy in a crew, and I in those 4 or 5 years that I was in the field working with the guys and learning, and I learned more in that time than I probably did in any other situation in my life. College was great, but when you're hands-on and you're doing the work that firsthand, it's a totally different way of learning. So that was really special for me, and I know I wouldn't be able to do what I do today if I didn't have the experience that I had when I first started in the business. When I came on, the business was already, pretty established at that point. We were starting to do bigger work and, transitioning from a commercial paving company to a, municipal contractor and a state contractor and doing bigger stuff. And, the amount that the company's changed just in the 10 or 11 years that I've been a part of it is incredible. And it's, it comes down to just hard work. It comes down to our people. We have amazing people that work for us, from the office staff to the operators to the laborers. Some guys have spent, the majority of their lives working for us. We have guys that have been with us for 25, 30 years, and they've seen the company go from a driveway company to what it is today. So there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride amongst ourselves. There's a lot of pride amongst our people. And I think that the people that we hire, as we grow, they get bits and pieces of that from the guys that have been with us for a long time. So it's a special place, and it's a place I'm very proud of. And I think that our people are really proud of working for us, which I think is working for the company, which I think is amazing. And hopefully we can, keep that culture going. And but yeah, I don't know that I thought it would happen this quickly, but I don't think we're satisfied. I mean, we never think about it in that way. We're just thinking about what can we do to
next step to
keep progressing and keep pushing this thing even further and even further. And the last thing I'll say is, it's a very risky business that we're in because of the amount of investment you have to make in in equipment and just the work in general is very risky stuff. But my dad would always say, we never ran before we walked. We take steps. It's been a very gradual, slow progression, and I think that's important in businesses. Obviously some businesses come up with an amazing idea and their company grows exponentially overnight. But, there's something to be said about a steady growth and being okay with that and being okay with, growing gradually. And that's kind of been our story. So we take risks, but they're
calculated.
We're not ever, trying to do things that are, way outside the box, or we just try to keep getting better at what we do and along the way grow the business that way. So,
and we've been pretty fortunate, with the founders, both my father and Ray, laying the groundwork for us, but we've also had some pretty smart people along the way that have helped us, to get to where we are today. So none of us have ever worked for another contractor. Everything we've learned from mistakes or from succeeding. But when we did fail, we dusted ourselves off and learned from it. And the other ways that we've learned was by hiring other individuals that have been in the business and that have brought their expertise to our company.
That know more than we do.
Right, and we've been able to learn from every single one of them. I'm not going to get into names, but we had one individual that, he was the first milling contractor, basically brought milling into the state of Connecticut as we know it today. We had another individual that, he worked offshore. He was a project manager for us, but he worked offshore and he did all the infrastructure.
At Atlantis.
At the Atlantis.
In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas, correct. We had another individual that we learned that we met on a project we were doing for Manafort Brothers up in
Bristol.
In Bristol, correct. Young kid, full of piss and vinegar. You can just see that the kid had it in him and wanted to grow. We hired him. He was with us for 3 or 4 years. He was given an ownership opportunity at another company. So everything and everyone that we've just hired a management team. And again, not going to get into names. We have a COO, an operations manager, a fleet manager. The guys are just unbelievable at what they do. And for us, when you have people around you that are that just lay the information out in front of you, it's very easy to make decisions. It's easy. It's never easy, but it's easier to run a business. And I've heard this in the past. You never want to be the smartest person in the room, and I think we've definitely taken that and we've ran with it, and it's helped us along the way for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You can never do anything alone. I think we're all witness to that. And just going back to like when your dad started, he wasn't alone with a shovel and a truck. I'm sure there was a guy with him, if not every day, leading up to growing the business and everything like that. I'm intrigued by all of your stories, Louie. Oldest one, coming into it. You talked about going to college and choosing to step into the business shortly after. Danny, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you following in your brother's footsteps a little bit, and
still isn't.
I've heard your story a lot. The audience haven't, unfortunately. I'd love to sit here for many hours with you guys. Joseph, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. I witnessed you finishing college. Actually, I was lucky enough to know you guys, 10 plus years, and I saw you come into the business, and clearly you made the right choice, and you're killing it. You guys are really an inspiration to watch, and
thank you, Nick.
And that doesn't go unnoticed. Yeah, no problem.
And Steve.
I agree with everything my partner's saying, and it's like you guys have a great partnership like we do. You have the humility to understand that there's other people that have a lot to give, and I think that's why you guys have gone so far and will continue to go far. I'm so happy that you did share your story, and that you support us the way you do, and we'll always be here to support you and whatever you guys what you guys do. I know you guys know that, and I can't wait to have you on in the future, and I can't wait.
Book it.
Can't wait to enjoy your
Part
company
two.
as I always enjoy it. And then I think Nick will probably ask you guys individually a question. We kind of try to ask all of our guests, right?
Yeah, and it could probably go on for another hour or two, but obviously the topic of conversation every episode is the Boa life, and you guys represent that. As I know, the audience may not know every detail of it, but they're probably curious to know. To you, Boa means good. And I didn't know that until I met you guys. But I'm trying to live it now. And everyone I talk to, I'm just saying I'm living the Boa life. And then they're like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? And then I get to educate them the same way I was educated, 12 years ago. So the Boa life to you guys, in short, well, if you want to go on for another hour, what does it mean to each of you individually?
Man, you guys are asking all the right questions tonight, huh?
Well, we got to put you on the spot.
Wow. To me, the Boa life is just finding that balance between family and work. And I think I've been pretty fortunate where I have a very supportive wife, 3 beautiful children, and 2 partners and 2, father figures that I can look up to. And that to me is what life is all about, is just being a good man, being a good father, being a good partner, and being good friends to everybody that I might encounter. But at the end of the day, the single most important thing that I can do as an individual is just be me. What you see is what you get. And man, the Boa life, man. You can just go on and on and on, right? But it's just being a good man. That's the single most important thing I can do as an individual, as a father, as a partner, as a husband, is just being a good person. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different things that you can say that is living a good life. I think, being close to your family, staying close to your family, keeping the family values. I think we learn so much from our role models and so much from the people that came before us. And if we live our own lives the same way that you were a role model for me in soccer, or these guys were role models for me when I came into the business, or my father, my mother, the work ethic that they taught me, we are role models to the next generation. Yep. So it's like, if we all live our lives as role models, or look at ourselves that way, then I think we're going to live a good life, and we're also going to show, our children how to, or the next generation. I hope to be a role model to your kids, and to my cousin's kids, and to my kids. So I think if everybody just keeps that mentality that somebody's watching, somebody's paying attention to what you're doing, and if you live with that type of, we all make mistakes. I've made many, and we've all made many mistakes, but just trying to be that role model for the next generation, I think will set you up to live a good life.
Yeah, so the Boa life, I think we've talked about blueprints, and it's pretty fitting considering we're in the construction business, but we have the blueprint. We've had some unbelievable people that have shown us how to live that life, whether it's our parents, Danny and I, Danny and my parents, Ray and Zulmida, our aunts and uncles, and extended family, going way back with Jack Boa. It's never easy, but the blueprint's there. Mm. So just being the best person that you can be day in and day out, being honest and true to yourself, you'll live it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Not always easy.
No, you guys are right. You hit on some good points, but at least you're trying. And you know what? We can't leave out our engineer that we stuck in the corner, my fellow white boy. Listen,
nobody puts Danny in the corner.
Nobody puts Danny in the corner. This guy, he's behind the scenes now, but he's prevalent in all our lives, I'm sure. So we want to hear from him too, quickly. If you could share with us the Boa life in short to you. Daniel?
So, I agree with everything you guys are saying, but back to episode 1, you got to work harder on yourself than you do your job. Your job's just a job. So it's those small 1% improvements every single day that make a difference.
Well said.
Yeah. Well,
We haven't figured that one out yet. We're trying.
it's a little more complicated for them because it's the family business. It's hard to disintegrate that. But for three guys that were nervous about how they were going to do, I mean, they really kicked some ass.
Yeah. I guess the cocktails did well.
I just want to know when episode 2 is scheduled. I know Louie has a lot to say.
Part 2. No, for the record, for the audience, we have tons of good conversation. Unfortunately, they're not privileged to it. We have great conversation. It goes on and on and on, and I can't wait for future conversations. So Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I want to thank Nick and Steve Demora for having us on. It's been an eye-opening experience. I'm not gonna lie. We were a little. I can speak for myself. I was a little nervous coming on, but I think as the show progressed, I think loosened up a little bit, and it was great. Thank you for having us.
I give you guys a ton of credit for doing what you're doing. It's an incredible idea, something I would never myself feel comfortable doing.
No.
So I give you guys a ton of credit. I mean, it's really difficult what you guys do to do what you're doing here. So, but I think you're bringing out stories from all different types of people, and that's really special. It's something that our kids and people are going to be able to watch for a long time. So I give you guys a lot of credit, and it's been a pleasure being here, and can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, these guys know that public speaking, getting out in front of cameras, it's not something I enjoy to do. I don't think it comes natural. I don't think it comes natural to any of us.
Yeah.
I don't think it comes natural for any of us here.
Yeah, you just got to work on it.
The fact that you guys are getting out of your comfort zone and doing it, I thought it was going to be a lot harder than what it actually turned out to be once you guys said, and I think Dan said, just pretend the cameras aren't there and just talk as if we're sitting around the dinner table. So, yeah, good job, guys.
Thank you guys. It's an experience, right? And there's a lot of shared experiences I cherish with all you guys. It's just another one to put in the box,
Yeah. My daughter Brooklyn said to me, "Daddy, are you going to be famous after today?" I'm like, I don't know, Brooklyn. Am I famous?
You may be one day. You never know.
Thanks again, guys. Listen, hit that subscribe button, click the bell, do whatever everyone does. Tell friends. People. Look, A&J Construction, Greenway, A and B. What else am I missing here? Nada. You need your driveway paved? You can't get a hold of these guys? Call me. Call Steve. Who cares? Thanks, everybody.
Hey, good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.